populations of 1.4 trillion, partly also tells about, if you go deeper, that how the disparity of the economy we have in our countries. I give one very astonishing fact. You will be able to relate on that. I take care of the automotive industry. Now, if you see that there is one statistics of the automotive that per 1,000 people, how many cars you have in a particular country. In India, it is in the range of 45. Per 1,000 people, we have 45 cars. And that too, again, a lot of congestions and the traffic jam. And you were also saying that I travel 45 kilometers from here to every day to my office. If you go to US, this is 900 per 1,000. If you go to, let's say, even China, it is close to 90. So this growth of cars in our road will increase, no doubt about that. Now, will that lead to a crisis or not? Will that be able that so much of infrastructure that's going on is enough or not? Is there a crisis going to come or not? Or whatever. So the economy of India, what's happening here, there are a lot of great news here. Also, there are a lot of points to take care with the growth that's coming into the live stream of our life in the next 5 to 7 years. And we have to take care of that. Now, the topic of this is leading through crisis. I have still 5-7 minutes? Okay, very good. Responding to the global crisis. You see, the world is very fragmented. I don't know if you would agree with me or not. The world is very fragmented now. The kind of trust between one to others, despite of the fact that so many forums and associations, whether it is European Union, G7, BRICS, ASEAN, SAARC, so many forums, the world is very fragmented. Everyone is trying to protect their own interest. The rise of the populists around the world, the rise of the righteous around the world is also leading to various concerns. Despite of a fact, if even that gives the global crisis for the shorter term of no hope, but I personally believe that there would be a time where the collaboration will happen. Even if the collaboration happen, leading through as a leader, you as a part of these organizations or society or your family or an individual can actually contribute a significant role. And that's the topic of today, how you as a leader can take a significant actions or a country can take a significant action through the crisis. While the cooperation is very important for sure, but cooperation alone is not enough. Why? Because the world is very fragmented. And hence these 4 actions, according to me, also according to the survey of the World Economic Forums, are the key cornerstones to lead through this chaos and the crisis. One is the localized strategies. Think about the COVID in 1920. This was a global crisis. But how many hospital bed and oxygen cylinder we had locally present was the only thing that matters for us, is it not? It doesn't matter the hospital bed in China or the ASEAN or the US. It matters of what we had in local. Think about the Middle East crisis of full-scale war. What would be the price of oil? You know, the oil supply comes mostly from Middle East. Beside Middle East, it is Venezuela and US, and a little bit Russia. What would be the fate of the oil price? How this economic activity would go on? How we can develop a local strategy? Many of you probably are aware that government is mandating from April 2025 a 20% ethanol in your gasoline. I'm not sure how many of you are aware. This will be a mandated one. This is one step to a local dependency, not depending outside. While you need a lot of collaborations, but you need to have your local strategy. And with that local strategy, you can probably safeguard little bit, not much, little bit of the global crisis. If the oil price shoots up, everything will shoot up. If you mandate your ethanol mix with the gasoline, not 20%, but probably 70% or 80%, like a country like Brazil, you probably can insulate of your economic activity and cash out. Think about your organizations, where you are largely dependent. Think about your business, where you are largely dependent of your import or your export to the global one, and how a crisis can change the entire domain. And how we can take a local strategies to make sure that you are partly insulated, not fully, but partly insulated of those activities. The second one is breakthrough endeavors. Let me give an example, then I will come back to these narrations of that. The first industrializations of fertilizers happened in 1913, I believe. First industrializations of the fertilizer. It says that if the industrializations of the fertilizer would not happen, the world populations now could be 1/3 of what it is. Because there would not be enough food. The population is increasing, right? It's now 8.1 trillion. By 2050, it will be 9 trillion. We have just one planet. The arable land is reducing by 1% every year, which is as good as the Great Britain, the whole size, every year. The water layer is going down by close to 1 meter every year. Where will we get food? The fossil fuel is not indefinite. There will be crisis on that. And hence these breakthrough innovations of ammonia industrializations, if this would not happen, the world population could be just 1/3. Think about the vaccines of the COVID if it would not happen. Why I'm bringing this topic, you have a role to play. We all have a role to play of bringing your activities in the form of some part of R&D, or some part of an invention, or some part of a jugaad idea that we say popularly in India of insulating the global crisis on that. Take an example you will see after a couple of years. The car will run by hydrogen. Some of those cars are already on the road. The emissions out of the hydrogen is nothing but just water drop. No emission, just water drop. And this is coming. This is a breakthrough innovation. You don't need oil. You don't need CNG. You don't need LPG. You just need oxygen. You don't need hydrogen. And this will come. This is a breakthrough. These breakthrough innovations are actually helping us either to mitigate the climate crisis, which is a crisis, which is a chaos, or probably an economic activity in a certain country. Think about the power. The generations of the power in India is happening still 70% by coal. There is a mandate by the government of the solar power. There is a mandate of hydrogen. Government has launched the hydrogen roadmap. How we can connect your business or your leadership towards these bigger pictures in the crisis moment of the future trends is important for you to understand and propose yourself or your business organizations to take your own strategy. Very important. The third one is collective action. It is not a combined action. It's a collective actions of you do, I do. You don't do, I also don't do. Think about the taxpayer. If everyone in India, we pay tax. If every business organizations runs the business ethically for their supply chains or for their business tracks, this collective action is important for all of us to make sure that we also go through these crises with not much of crisis in our business or in our society. Collective action is an aggregate of one individual actions and the other individual actions and other individual action, and together we aggregate the total action is the collective actions. It is not the collaboration. And the last but not the least is of course the collaboration at the cross-border. See that your dependency in a business or your dependency as a leader, if you run a business or if you lead a business, how you're dependent with the other society, how you're dependent in the policy point of view between one country to another country. I get variable questions from many business customers when I go and meet them that, can you just give me a list of your material that you're importing from China? Because we have a fear that this is not going to happen going forward and there would be a lot of scrutiny of importing from China. Now, in that case, is there any other country where you can have a cross-border coordination? Can we have a pact? Can you have an FTA? Government is working on that for sure, but we as a leader also have a significant role to suggest the government. And my boss, my global CEO, who comes and say popularly that, 5 years back it was us who used to go to government and say that you should do these and that and that. Nowadays the ministry is calling us to that, okay, tell me what to do. This cross-border coordination is going to be also very, very important in this fragmented world. Because no country, no business, no society is alone significantly capable to run through the chaos and the crisis. Now, I will just give a couple of examples and then I will end for the questions. You will get many definitions of the leadership for sure. You have your own definitions. You are also leader. To me, the very powerful definitions of leadership is the ability to translate the vision into reality. This is my favorite definition. You will have your favorite definitions. We see a lot of transactions. We see a lot of chaos. We see a lot of crises, a lot of functional challenges, a lot of disciplinary problems, a lot of visions, purposes, mission, values, whatever it is. We as a leader have a significant role to translate that visions into the reality. And in order to do that, we have to have the self-awareness. In order to do that, we also need to invest a lot on me or on my development or my organization's development. And of course, this ability to think clearly. I think this is my last slide. I will give certain examples and then I will end for the question and answer. The leadership actions and the developments, I will try to give a couple of examples for all of us to see and relate to the crisis. The first one called social loafing. There was a scientist in French called Ringelmann in 1913. He was an engineer. He did a survey, not a survey, kind of an experiment of a power of animal. He did this experiment with horse. One horse was pulling a coach with 100% effort. The moment he added one more horse, so there was two horses, and increased the weight twice, he saw that the coach was not pulling because both the horses are not giving 100%. And then he added one more, which is third, and then probably up to 8. It says that social loafing. Science says that this is social loafing. And this happens for the human also. When you walk alone, you give 100%. The moment you have one more, you give 89%. The moment 3 of us, you give 85%. And it goes up to 49% if it is 8. You see that in rowing competitions. None of them gives 100%, even though the pauses that give 100%. But in a relay race, you see that one is running and the another is running. Everyone is giving 100%. Science and psychology says that this is social loafing. What does that mean? When your individual performance is not seen, you don't give 100%. So if you devise a strategy for your organizations, whether it is a chaos or the crisis, make sure that individual performance is somehow rewarded, recognized, or seen. Otherwise, don't expect 100% in a teamwork. How does that matter for the global crisis? I don't know how many of you follow this environmental pact or the climate pact and the commitment of the leaders in the form of, I will do this and that, this and that. And we look at others what's happening. If my individual performance is not seen in your organization, if your individual performance is not seen in your organizations, science says that you don't give 100%. This is called social loafing. The second one is called the framing effect. You will see BBC, next day you will see Al Jazeera, you will see 2 different news for the same topic. You will see one TV channel in India and the other TV channel in India. For the same topic, you will see 2 different narrations of the topic. This is called framing effect. This is kind of half full and half empty. If I say that this one is 99% fat-free and this one is 1% fat, both are same, but you would probably buy the 99% fat-free. If I say that this is 98% fat-free and this is 1% fat, you would probably still buy the 98% fat-free, even though this one is better. This is called framing effect. And this happens in all leadership speech. If you look carefully of all this speech, how big is the leader doesn't matter. What is the commitment of that leader for a crisis? What is the commitment for you in the organizations? There is always a bit of framing effect. So you need to be very well aware of this framing effect, and probably you need to also use this framing effect for your leaderships. How to go through that framing effect and how to understand that. It is important very well that what you say, but very, very important also what you don't say sometimes. The third one is called action bias. I will also try to give an example. I don't know how many of you are a fan of the football, soccer, not the American football, our football, the one that European football that we play. You might have seen the penalty shootout or the trifecta or whatever. Huh? Statistics says that when a player is shooting a penalty kick out, 33% it goes to the right side, 33% it goes to the left side, 33% comes straight. But if you observe the behavior of a goalkeeper, you will see a goalkeeper will jump 50% on the right, 50% on the left. Standing still, it doesn't happen. Right? Even though the chances of success are same. But it doesn't happen. Why? Because we as an individuals, even if the success is not there, we would try to show something that we are doing something. This is called action bias. Many a times you don't fit into a meeting room happening in your organizations. But you go and sit there and you poses that you're listening, but actually you're not listening. It happens, right? This is called action bias. Huh? It is important what to do. I think I learned in a very bitter way, but it's also important what not to do. Very, very important. So try to understand that in regular conditions or in a crisis conditions, or in a chaotic conditions, or in a normal conditions, when you take a business decisions, what actions are important for you? Not to show that you're just taking an actions, but to really look and fix with the data. That what is important. And the last one is the social network, for sure. You know better than me for some time. There is a popular saying that you are nothing but the 5 people that you mingle with. You're just average of that 5 people. If you mix with 5 Nobel laureates, you are actually a Nobel laureate. If you mix always with the 5 Nobel laureates, you are actually a Nobel laureate. You are average of the 5 people that. It is important that who you know. But it is even more important who knows you. That's called social network. So build your social network, enjoy your life, lead your business, be very successful. Thank you very much.
We have a bunch of questions. Is this working? Yeah. So the first one is from Kamali in Chennai. How important is collaboration with government or competitors or other industries during a global crisis? And can you provide any examples where such partnerships have led to success? How important is collaboration with government, competitors or other industries during a crisis?
I think, first of all, in one way, it is very important. But you have to sometimes also take with a pinch of salt. I don't know who asked this question. Can I just look at it? Online, okay. Thank you very much. So it is very important, very, very important. I'm not too sure about the topic, which topic could be relevant with the competitors. There would be a lot of competition act. How do you collaborate with the competitions? Yes, you can do that when it comes to the policy making, for sure. But with government, for sure. And I can give plenty of example, I would say. Plenty of examples. So what's happening in India also at the moment of the example that I have given on hydrogen roadmap. There is an organization, all of you know, called Reliance. Into the hydrogen roadmap, when government has launched a hydrogen roadmap, they have actually allocated a lot of fund and they've given a roadmap of the next 10 years that this is the roadmap of the hydrogen. But government was alone not very capable to understand the entire value chain of the hydrogen. One of the value chains of the hydrogen is actually to carry the hydrogen from one spot to the other spot, and you need a carbon fiber tank. And that carbon fiber in the whole value chain is the most expensive one. So Reliance then came into the picture, met the government, made a policy that can we help us to each other from the government, from the policy point of view, of producing the carbon fiber locally here in India. And that's collaborations of carbon fiber tank production in India is very important to be successful in the hydrogen roadmap. So this collaboration is very important. With competitors, I think you probably need to see that how you collaborate with the competitors. Sometimes the topics can be conflicting. Sometimes the topics could be not conflicting, and those non-conflicting topics, you can definitely collaborate.
Sure. Thank you. I have a couple of questions, actually 3 questions, which are nearly similar, so I'm going to bunch them up together. Basically asking, what have been your learnings from your own industry, dealing with disruptions, and how do you manage risks during this period? Questions from Ajay, Yuvraj from Hyderabad, Arjun from Pondicherry.
I think I try to give certain of my learning or my experience, even the example those I have given, I come across that. But let me just give you a very specific example. In 2019, I was responsible for the South Asia for BASF, for big plans on that. It was not easy to shut down the plant and stop all the activities. It was not easy decision. You have the running cost of, let's say, 10 crore, 15 crore, 20 crore every month, and you don't produce anything and you don't sell anything. But you have to take the tough decisions. Huh? In a difficult and the crisis moment, when you do not know the future, do not wait. Take the decision even if it is wrong. You can correct that decision, but do not procrastinate. That's the learning that I have learned very, sometime difficult way, sometime out of my mistake, that I delayed the decision and hence there was more crisis. Hence, when the crisis is there and you don't know what's going to happen, take an immediate decision even if it is tough.
I think it's very, very important. I think it's... The next one comes from Mr. Hariharan of Mayura's group. Leading through chaos or in normal times demands visionary political leadership and governance. I see a dearth of this globally. How do we fix this?
What is the second part? I see
a dearth of it globally, dearth of political leadership. How do we fix it? Maybe tomorrow will be the first step.
No, I think it's not only of course it is important, but it's not only the US. So what's happening, I think you're right on the questions, what's happening around the world according to my interpretations, and I can be also not fully correct. The rise of the populist, what's happening, yeah? And this rise of the populist actually making the society more fragmented. Yeah? But there is one, if you go back to the primitive need of the humans, of the basic need based on the Maslow, once that is done, which is your safety, security, food, and the place to stay, you actually will have a lot of ambitions to grow. And you would definitely strive for an environment which is psychologically safe environment. So there would be a generations of a leader for sure. There would be an evolvement of the leader for sure. Now, let me give an example what happened 3 months back in Bangladesh. Many of you probably have one set of informations, but many of others probably have other set of information. So there was a certain uprooting of the current government or past government, which was led by Sheikh Hasina, and there is now a new interim government. There are many people in those countries or in Bangladesh are actually very happy on that. So this leadership is also sometimes very contextual. That if Republic wins, the Republicans voter would probably feel that this is the best decision happening in their life, while the Democrat will probably feel that the other way around. So this is pretty subjective sometimes, but there are a lot of leaders, probably it is not very direct at the moment.
Sure, thank you. From Prakash from Chennai, what methods or framework do you rely on when making critical decisions under immense pressure, and how do you maintain clarity in such situations?
I wish there is one single method. First of all, I do not think there is one single method. As I was explaining, the evolutions of the leadership from 30 to 50 was more of a one-man show leaders, and then from 50 to 70, it was more of an empowerment. In the last decades, from 2010 to 2024, the meta-analysis of the leadership says that it is more of a transformational leadership, or so to say, this situational leadership. So sometimes the situation depends that what decision we take. Sometimes you also need to embrace that even if the decision may not be 100% certain, you still take. And hence, the clarity of those decisions can be given only via communications. But especially when there is a crisis, you need to over-communicate. No communication is enough according to the theory when there is a crisis. You have to over-communicate and over-communicate and over-communicate to make sure that it is clear and transparent.
Absolutely. Thank you. From your experience leading diverse teams across multiple geographies, what cultural or regional factors do you consider when leading through such crises?
It's a very important question. Currently I lead...
This one is from Arogya Raj, Madurai.
Yeah. Thank you. So currently I lead multiple geographies, including, let's say, India, Bangladesh, South Asia, Thailand, Indonesia, Malaysia, Vietnam, Cambodia, part of Japan and the Korea as well. There would be always a cultural content. And I can say one thing. Let me just share one of my failure. And probably then we will understand what is the crisis one. Long back, I was posted in Singapore. I was leading one functions for the entire Asia Pacific back in 2007 or 8 or something like that. And I failed probably 70 or 80% of the time. But I have my best lesson on my life of leading a team which is very intercultural. The strategy which worked for India, the strategy which worked for Thailand will not be the same that will work, or there is no guarantee that will work for Japan. The needing of the society, the belief, the time they take to trust you is so important. So you have to be patient and you have to understand the cultures of the specific geography in order to really lead them. And if you do not understand, you would definitely not be successful in those contexts, for sure.
Sure. I think that applies even to India, given that varied demography that we have, and the country is so large and doesn't speak one language. It's even true for a country like India, even within the country.
I can very well relate that. So as I said that I am Bengali, and there is a reason that why there are not much of industrializations. You can explain with the political wish and everything, and the leftist rule there probably 45 years. But the way I see this, not much of industry in the West Bengal is because we are very lazy, because we eat 2 rasgulla in the morning. That's guaranteed.
Yeah. This is a question on social loafing. Mr. Jairaj wants your view on this. Indians are believed to be brilliant individually, but not effective in a group. The Japanese are said to be effective in a group, but not brilliant individually. Social loafing as a concept seems to belie the above. Kindly give your views.
First of all, I'm not very well aware of this fact. So thank you so much for enlightening me. And since I do not have the very well understanding why Japanese are very well effective in a group and while Indians are not. But what I can say that there is one big difference between the cultures of the Japan and India is Japan as an organization, as a country, is very much process driven. Very, very, very much process driven. They will spend probably 70% of the time on planning and 30% on executions, while we probably spend not even 5% on planning, just ho jayega, jugaad. We just start. If it doesn't work, we go left. If it doesn't work, we go right. Probably like that. I don't know. What is the fact that we spend less time on planning? While in Japan, oh my God, they will spend huge amount of time on the drawing and the precisions and the planning, and then only they will go.
From Jairaj again, please give your views on Harari's VUCA world.
Which one?
VUCA world, VUCA.
Okay, so this volatility, uncertainty,
complex and ambiguity.
Complexity, yeah. So
ambiguity.
Yeah, I think I covered a little bit of those while I explained and given certain example of the crisis, whether it is how volatile or how uncertain this world. Who knew that there would be a crisis between this whole Europe of Russia and Ukraine? Who knows that China will attack Taiwan? Who knows? So the world is pretty volatile for sure. Of course uncertain. The new dimensions of the crisis and the chaos, what will come, we don't know. And hence it is VUCA world. Again, the same context will come, same principle will come probably. It may vary from me to you or the organization that you lead. And hence, the principle that you go through under the VUCA world would still probably apply the same way that we try to explain.
Can you share an example where a global crisis led BASF to innovate or rethink its business strategy in a way that created new opportunities?
Oh, well, there are many actually. There are many. In fact, the example what I given for the ammonia industrialization invented by a process called Harvard and Bosch, two scientists, and they got the Nobel laureate. And this was an innovation of BASF as well. In fact, there are many innovations. The BASF, my company, is known for innovation. They file roughly around 900 to 1,000 patents every year. And I can give a very, very pleasing fact to all of you that there are 3 such research centers BASF has globally. One in Germany, one in Shanghai, and one in Mumbai. So we invent for the entire world.
Yeah, we'll have a last question from Preeti. How can we identify the better and right perspective when framing effect has been in play nowadays?
I think it's important to know the data point of view. Right? It's important to know the statistics part of it. As I say that every information, even if it comes from your own family member or a political leader or your organizations, there would be some framing effect for sure. Because we humans are so intertwined with our brain system that we will say the way it works for us, or it works for me, or it works for my organizations. Whenever we narrate this one. Sometime knowing the topic better, understanding the statistics, and probably taking these informations with not a full validations and trying to go a little deeper may probably help.